Okay, so see today we have seen all the output of JDBC. We have seen the excellent support what JDBC is giving for you to work with database. So what is JDBC now? If you see, basically what is JDBC? It's a technology. Yes or no? Why we call it as a technology? Why we call it as a technology? Because it is ready-made. So technology means ready-made solutions. Understood? So JDBC is a technology which has been provided by Java. JDBC is a technology which has been provided by Java. So from the Java program, see you can write an application to interact with the database. Understood? You can use C, C++, Java, anything, any language you can use. That is irrespective now. But if you are trying to use Java to code now, we'll be using JDBC technology. So means it's a ready-made solution. So we don't have to worry now. Just use it and automatically you can connect to database and work with the database. So that is why we say JDBC is a persistent technology. Yes or no? There are many types, many technologies in Java. Whenever we start coding applications, now you'll find various problems. To solve all your various problems, there are many technologies. Like example, Servlet is on technology, JSP is on technology, Struts is on technology, JSF is on technology, Hibernate is on technology. These are all technologies coming to solve certain problems to you. So one technology gives you one solution. Understood? There is no one technology in the world which will give you all solutions. So for one problem there will be one technology. Understood? So right now the problem what we are facing is we want to do persistent operations. So to do persistent operation we use the technology, persistent technology called as JDBC. In fact, even to do persistent operations, there are many, in Java only there are many technologies. In Java only there are many persistent technologies. I told you in the beginning, which are the different persistent technologies? First starts with JDBC, then Hibernate is there, then JPA is there, then many are there, Kudos, Toplink, so many are there. But the base for all this, what you are saying now, will be JDBC. Understood? The base for whatever you know, Hibernate, JPA, Kudos, Toplink, something like JDO or something. Okay, many are there. Understood? So many are there, and the list is endless. But extensively used are JDBC, Hibernate, and upcoming technology right now is JPA. You don't have to worry about all this. Understood? So we are going to cover all the three. So there are many persistent technology, means they are libraries, means ready-made solution. One better than the other. See, JDBC is giving you so many solutions. But in JDBC, supposing you have to write 4 lines of code, in Hibernate what will you write? 2 lines of code. It will be going like that. And means it will more reduce. Understood? So these are more advanced powerful technologies. But now what is the difference between all of this is, means why there are so many libraries? That slowly you start understanding later. See, this is a Sun specification. So we'll start understanding what is specification from today. Okay, Hibernate is a proprietary specification. Is proprietary. Means it is given to you by third party person. That library is given to you by third party person. Okay, means who is giving it Hibernate to you? Red Hat. There's one company called as Red Hat, they will provide this. JPA is again Sun specification. Now these are again third party people. We don't know who, don't worry. So when you are developing a project, we prefer to use Sun specified technologies because we get excellent support from Sun. Understood? Now why there are two, there is big story for all this. Gradually as we enter the next technologies, you'll start understanding all this. So the basis for all this forms JDBC. So in the interview whenever you go, you should tell JDBC is a persistent technology. But this technology, how it got invented, it's also a very interesting story. Understood? This technology we know it's a technology now. But how did Java come up with such a brilliant solution? We know you can work with database. Which database you want to work? You can work with Oracle, you can work with MySQL. It's one standard technology to work with what? Any database. Okay, you can work with DB2, you name your database. Okay, you can work with that. Okay, you can work with Sybase, means any relational database you can work now. But how did Java come up with such a powerful solution? Yes or no? All you'll be doing is what? The standard API you'll use. Understood? And you'll change the jar file. So what that jar file only is the main thing now. Understood? So now you want to work with which database? That jar file you'll add. So the jar file is nothing but what? Library. That jar file itself is the technology. Technology is nothing but what? Ready-made solution. So means broader way, if you talk technology means from the engineering point of view. Technology is a word related to all branches of engineering. Similarly, technology is related to what? Software engineering also. You have got technology word in what? Mechanical, civil, everywhere you got this word. Similarly, you got this word in what? Software engineering also. So here software engineering means technology means what again? Ready-made solution. Understood? It's a ready-made solution, and that ready-made solution is nothing but what? Dot class files. And how are the dot class files given to you? Jar. So jar is a library, jar is a technology, like that. They are all related only, but from the context it will vary. From what point of view you are talking. Understood? From what point of view you are talking, it will vary, that's it. So yes, but the question now comes is, how was this beautiful technology invented? Understood? So let's see how this got invented now. Are you clear this? I'll tell you the history of how JDBC came into existence. What were the problems faced by other languages? How Java comes with this brilliant solution. Understood? Clear this? This is a very interesting story. See now the scenario is, yes, a Java language is there. Okay, Java language, you got the Java language. And in the Java language, what is happening? They give very brilliant support. What all Java language is giving to you? It is giving you operators, it is giving you data types, it is giving you control statements, it is giving you operators. Around 8 to 9 features it gives you what the developer requires. And after giving all these features, okay, it says the developer you can code. Ours is a user-friendly language, portable language, all that they'll tell. So once they tell this, we can use this language for coding now. Yes or no? So means see, requirement is very simple now. Requirement is very simple. I'll make it a very broad requirement. Means I want to write an application to connect to database and do some CRUD operations. That is my requirement now. Okay. And I'll ask you to choose whichever language you want to choose. You can do this using what? Your own language, whichever you know. C, C++, Java, VB, so many languages are there. That is your wish now. If I give you a task now, do some, is collect some values from the UI. This will be on user interface. Enter name, enter date of birth. So they'll enter into your application, and your application has to do the CRUD operations now. If this is a requirement now, so you have to pick a language now. So on what grounds do you choose the language? Here comes the important question. On what grounds? Should I go for C? All languages are giving you support for programming only now. So first, you'll be choosing, the first thing what you'll be looking is user friendly. So no. Then next thing, yes, more reasons will come, which is more robust, powerful and all that. But let us think about all that later. Okay. But among many languages, Java is the easiest. Assume that you pick Java. Okay. So Java is giving you excellent support for programming. It's giving you operators, data types, control statements, everything it gives. So you can use Java code. You can write your own Java code now. Full Java code you can write. To what? To connect to database, dump values, retrieve values, all that you can do. Understood? So, but the problem here is, see, we have a problem now. Just see how the solutions start coming to you from Java. The problem is what? Developer wants to interact with database. This is the problem developer is facing now. And he will face this in every application. Not one. You are developing one application, next application also will face the same problem. Next application also will face the same problem. So in every application you are going to face the same problem. You have to interact with the database. Okay. So supposingly you see C++, that is a redundant problem which will go on occurring for you. Coding also is difficult, plus same, because you can't prepare libraries there. What is the reason you can't prepare libraries? Because the libraries in C, C++ are not platform independent. They are restricted to one single operating system. But in Java, let's see how they solve the problem now. So this is the problem. Yes. So now what better solutions? So yeah, developer wants to interact. So first, this is the problem. First solution will be got by developer. First solution, developer only will do it. He'll write the code, no doubt about it. Later on, now everybody will see the same code is required what? Everywhere. So better we can do what? Write some classes. Sun will think now. Sun will think. So now means yeah, it's something like, why do you want to write it every time again and again? Why do you want to write it again and again? So better in Java, you know, there is a library. Okay, they think like, why not prepare a library for this? So now Java people can prepare the library. But when Java people try to prepare the library, what is the problem? They have to write classes now. Yes or no? If Sun thinks of giving a solution to you, instead of you writing, okay, Sun can give a solution to you. Yes, they can give it, but they have to give you what? Classes. So they can use classes. See now, here comes the difference between a class and an interface. So we are going more detail into how to use these data types for programming. When to use class, when to use interface. So now some people can use a class. Now when to use a class? When you want to do concrete implementations. When you want to do concrete implementations, you start using classes. Okay. So now see, supposingly Sun decides to write classes for all the database vendors now. Now there are so many database vendors in the world. Oracle is there, DB2 is there, MySQL is there, so many are there. Can Sun people sit and write the code for all these vendors? Huh? How many classes will they write? Tomorrow one more database will come. Day after tomorrow one more database. So question here is we need a library. But who is going to prepare the library is the question. Yes, we need library. We don't want to code every time. But Sun tries to do it. They have to do it for everybody. They have got better work. They are not interested in sitting and writing code for what? All the database vendors. Okay, and even if they write, the name of the classes might vary, some problems might come. Okay, for one set of database, some classes, another set of database, another classes, another set of database, means another database, another set of classes. Means for one database, one set of class can come. So tomorrow you want to migrate the database, you have to change the code here now. Because you are using classes here. So that becomes a problem. So some people thought the best solution. Okay, so initially this will happen. So developer will write the code. Then the problem will come like this. So that time what will happen? Sun will not give the solution. Instead, DB people can think of giving a solution. See, there are only two people here involved. Only three people involved. One is DB vendor. One more is Sun. And one more is application developer. That is V. It's only triangle now. We'll see how this problem gets solved now. We have a language. We are application developers. And you have the DB vendor. So Sun will refuse to write code for this library. Till now you have seen in core Java, they are giving you many libraries. For doing what? Collections, and all they have given you. They are all classes, notice. Okay. For input, output, multi-threading and collections, they are all giving you classes. Okay. So Sun will give some built-in library for itself. Then here Sun is not interested to give the library now. For what? Interacting with database for one-on because the reason is for one-on database they have tried one-on type of code. That is one problem. Now other option is application developer. See, I can write, but if I write, what will happen? I can prepare one library, but that will be restricted to what? To myself. I can write some classes, I can write some code to interact with database, but the class which I write will not be used internationally or in some other company like that. Means it will not be used by all the developers. So these two people are ruled out now. We will not write, Sun will also not write. Left option is what now? The database vendors. They can write the code. They can write the code. So when they write the code, there's a problem. They can write, they'll give libraries. But the problem is, see, Oracle will give one jar. Supposingly they'll give some jar, a.jar. This DB2 will give you b.jar. Means they'll write, they'll zip and give it to you, c.jar. They'll give it. They'll write the set of classes. But the problem here is when they write also, they'll be giving their own class names now. There'll be no standard now. So every time you want to interact with on database, what do you have to learn? Their API. You have to learn their API. Yes or no? For Oracle you have to learn their set of classes and interfaces. No, classes. For DB2 you have to learn their classes. Okay. Then for MySQL you have to learn their set of classes. It's a problem. End of the day the operation is same. You want to do what? Insert, update, delete, CRUD operation. For doing that, how many classes, how many methods will you learn for interacting with one database? This question comes out now. Understood? So we need a brilliant solution here. That is when the best data type what we have got comes in to give the solution, the interface. Understood? Interface will come out. It's a very interesting thing now. So what will happen now? For all these DB vendors, Sun sets the standard. They will not prepare the library. They will not prepare the library. Okay, they'll, see, we know some points about interface. Interfaces are used for what? Decoupling, declaration and implementation. See, many of you know your old style of interface definition. I'm not talking about that. Coming technically how an interface is used in programming. Okay, interfaces help you to decouple declaration and implementation. Yes. Now Sun doesn't want to implement, but they want to set standards. Sun does not want to implement now, but they want to set for all the DB vendors some standard because they'll have implement what? The same method, and they'll be having the same methods now. So the developer, what he'll feel now? All he's going to do is use the same set of classes, method names and all that to interact with any database. So that is their idea. So Sun sets the specification now. We have a problem. First developer will get the solution. Second, sometimes there will be a, first solution will be done by developer. Second solution will be Sun sets specification. For whom now? Who are they setting the specification now? DB vendors. They set the standard for the DB vendors. Now all DB vendors who want to support Java have to implement what? This interfaces. So that's what they name. The specification now, to interact with database, they call it as JDBC API. So when Sun sets this JDBC API specification, see, get the point here. This triangle is very important. So Sun sets a specification that is called as JDBC API. So Sun sets specification. So when they set the specification, now this specification will be learned by two people. We are going to see many specifications. This is the first specification what you are seeing. Servlet is also on specification. JSP is also on specification. JSF is on specification. EJB is on specification. So these are all specifications set by whom now? Sun. To whom? Vendors. But JDBC is a specification set by DB vendors. Set by Sun for DB vendors. It is a specification set by Sun for database vendors. Now that specification we call it as JDBC specification. This specification will be learned by two people. Who? One application developer. Two whom? DB vendor. So application developer will use. Getting it now? He will use that. But DB vendor will implement it. Brilliant. Understood now? So that's how it goes. So there are so many interfaces. None of the interfaces we implemented. Did we implement? See, connection is there, statement is there, prepared statement is there, callable statement is there, result set is there. So they are all interfaces. Blindly are getting the output. Fact is, when you have an interface, you cannot work with an interface until and unless you do the implementation. But you are not at all bothered. Blindly you are calling what? Methods, methods, methods. But how are you getting the output now? So that is what we are trying to analyze. So once the specification is set, these people will implement it. And they'll supply it with their database distribution. That's what we call jar file. OJDBC14.jar is containing what? The implementation of that specification, JDBC API. And they'll give that as with the database. Same way for MySQL, they'll implement. And they'll give it in one more jar file, MySQL connector.jar. So this jar file is nothing but what? Implementation of all these interfaces. So in fact, means you have got concrete implementation now. You have got concrete implementation done in those classes. I will show you how do they do the implementation. So they have implemented it. So in fact, our interface is working with whose object now? DB vendor's object. They have got the concrete implementation. Our interface connection is working with what? Database vendor object. Statement is working with database vendor object. See now, this is what is abstraction. You are interacting with DB vendor's code. To interact with that code, what are you using? We are using one data type. Yes or no? So that data type we call it as interface. That is how this data type gets the name. It's a brilliant data type introduced by Sun. Unbeatable it is. So this data type is used for interacting with what? Third party code now. That's how it gets the name. See, class, subclass, abstract class, but why did this data type get the name as an interface? What is the actual meaning of an interface? It is a medium of communication. Understood? So you are using this data type to interact with what? Third party code. Understood? That is brilliant. So that is how this data type gets the name. Unfortunately, many people don't know. They think, I know interface. But with so much of intense meaning, this data type was named as interface. So here you have to understand little of English. Understood? See, interface means what? Always you will have some complexity. To work with the complexity, an interface will be given to you. Understood? Example, you have operating system. Operating system is very complex. And it is installed on the hard disk. To work with the operating system, what do you use? The desktop. The desktop is an interface to work with what? Operating system. Understood? Similarly, you have a lot of complications anywhere, everywhere. Like you have a TV. All the complication is hidden inside it. For interacting with that complication, they'll provide an interface. Remote is an interface to work with TV. So always to work with complexities, we need what? Interface. Otherwise man cannot work. Understood? Same concept here. To work with their concept, their complexity, we are using one data type. That is why that data type has been named as interface data type. What a beautiful word it is they have given. Understood? So now because of this data type, Java is dominating in the market because it provides you the highest level of abstraction. We don't know who is implementing the code, how they are writing. Okay, so you know all the points about an interface. I'll open up now. Interfaces state always what they do, but not how it is done. We already discussed this in core Java. What is an interface, what it does and all that. Understood? Interfaces always state what they do, but not how it is done. Interfaces are used for setting standards. Interfaces are used for decoupling, declaration and implementation. Understood? They support your dynamic polymorphism the best way, and they provide you highest level of abstraction. So many points. Understood? So this is what you have to tell in the interview. Generally what is an interface means what do you tell? You know your best definitions. Okay, it will have abstract methods and it will have final variables. Over. That is not interface. This is the actual definition of an interface. And where it is practically used, live you are seeing now. Understood? We in core Java I taught you interface A, B, C, D. That is okay. For learning purpose I taught you. But now you are seeing the actual way how an interface is used in programming now. Clear this? So this is how the interfaces will be designed. So get this triangle now. So this triangle is a very important triangle from now because we have learned the first technology. We are going to learn more technologies. Sun sets the specification. That specification will be learned by whom now? Two people. One, we are learning JDBC API. For what purpose? To use, not to implement. Now vendor will also learn. Why? To implement. So a beautiful solution you have got now. So once you learn it, what will you do? You use that interfaces now. Whatever you want. See, I'll use connection. I'll use statement. I'll again explain all the code. I'll use connection. I'll use a statement. I'll use prepared statement. Anything. So now this is an interface. This interface can be used to work with what? Anybody's code. Standard it is. So if you are using Oracle, con will be referring to their object. Okay, means you will be jdbc.jar is there now. An object from that jar file gets created. And con variable will be referring to Oracle vendor object. Supposing I change to MySQL connector, whatever it is. So that time con variable will be referring to the class which is present in MySQL. Means an object of that class will be created and con will be referring to that object. So that is what is dynamic polymorphism. What is dynamic polymorphism? Making superclass variable refer to subclass object is only called as dynamic polymorphism. If you don't like that implementation, just change it like this. Remove the jar, add the new jar, finished. Yes or no? So I change the implementation on. Brilliant it is. So what solution Java gives you, imagine. It is unbelievable. So you cannot compare this with any other language only. Okay. So whenever you have a programming problem, Java starts giving you brilliant solutions. You have seen the built-in libraries. So till now we have seen the built-in libraries. Now we are seeing how powerful Sun is in the programming world. They go on setting standards for many vendors like this. Understood? They go on setting standards for many vendors like this. This is one database vendor you are saying. Like that there are many software providers. For all the software providers, Sun will set specifications now. Understood? So and they will be doing with the help of interface. Done? So you got this triangle now. Remember this triangle now. Never forget this. Because this is where the real programming of Java starts. Because continuously from now you'll be start seeing what? Interfaces, interfaces and interfaces. And you'll get the grip of this. This is the first time you are coming across all this. Okay. And continuously when you start seeing this, you'll understand it. Yeah. So you got the problem. First solution what? Will be developed by developer. Second solution is what? Sun will be setting the specification. And to set the specification means they cannot do any implementation. They have to use which data type now among the 4 data types. See, for setting the specification, they have got class, subclass, abstract class and interface. Among all these data types, they cannot use because see, it's very clear. Classes are used for doing concrete implementation. Subclass is used for doing adding or changing implementation. Abstract class is used for doing partial implementations. Interface is always open for implementation. Brilliant, no? So it is because of this reason Java becomes the most dominating programming language because they can set standards. Understood? In C++, interface data type is missing now. It is not there. So their level of abstraction is what now? Low. As compared to Java, it is bit low. Understood? So I will explain you more on this, then we will compare with other languages. So here we will be focusing more on interface data type now. So this all is theory. Now why I am giving you this theory knowledge is, you see, coding Java everybody will by heart and learn. It's not a great thing. Many people know how to get JDBC output, but they'll really not be knowing how the output they are getting. Understood? So if I get into this basics, like how the things are happening and all that, you always have an extra edge when working in a company, because see, software engineer anybody can become. I'm trying to not train you as software engineers. I'm trying to bring you to the level of architects, of how to choose technologies, of how to choose database. If you choose that, how do you set your environment? These are the crucial things. So gradually you'll understand why I'm pitching like this. Understood? When you complete, by the time you complete the course and when you work in companies or when you do projects, you'll start getting this clear idea. It's hardly a matter of 1 hour or 2 hours what we are going to spend, but immense information you'll get, and from now you'll still more relax. Till now you're relaxed, you know you're referring to documents and coding, and Eclipse was helping you. And now you start clearly understanding how the things are working. Yes, see, they have given you many points on interface data type. I'm not saying no. Let us see some more points on interface data type. This some more means the same points. I've just extracted few of them. Okay, I've given you all these points when I was doing what? Core Java. Yes? So see this. Interface supports multiple inheritance. Now we are not using your interface to support multiple inheritance. It supports, we know that. But are we using interface here to support multiple inheritance? No. Initially interface was introduced for this purpose. When they introduced interface data type, no, it was actually introduced for what? First only 3 data types were there. When they introduced the 4th data type interface, because all the 3 data types, class, subclass, abstract class, were not supporting what? Multiple inheritance. They are not supporting multiple inheritance. When they are not supporting multiple inheritance, Java introduced a new data type called as interface. Done. That is okay. But today's programming world, why an interface is used? Look at the points now. It is used for decoupling, declaration and implementation of methods. Getting the point now? I'll explain it still more clearly. With code I'll explain now. Understood? So it also specifies what a class must do but not how it has to be done. Means con.create statement. What it should do? It should return you statement. Yes, now Oracle people also will do the same thing. MySQL people also will do the same thing. Everybody will do the same thing. st.execute query. All vendors are doing the same implementation. That's what we mean here. It always specifies what a class must do, but not how to do. Means Oracle vendor can write that code in 100 lines or he can write it in 2 lines. That is irrespective for us. But it should do what it is supposed to do. Execute query means it should return me what? Result set only. It should get me the values from the database and give me the result set only. Understood? That is what it should do. So we'll see it more. It supports dynamic polymorphism. Understood? What is dynamic polymorphism? We are practically saying what is dynamic polymorphism. Till now you have seen dynamic polymorphism in your college days or in other institutes, people coming from other institutes. What will you be thinking? Dynamic polymorphism means what? Animal A is equal to new dog, A dot bark, A dot move. That is not dynamic polymorphism. That is true to only to that level. Understood? But practical polymorphism we are seeing now. This is what is dynamic polymorphism. Clear? Next, it is a data type which can be used as an interface to work with what? An object. Means if you want to work with an object, you will use this data type. So it is because of this feature, this data type gets the name interface. It's a data type which can be used as an interface to work with object. Generally it will be third party objects. It will not be our object also, third party objects. So this is the whole idea now about an interface. So you'll see still coding, how they do it. I'll open extract today. Which one? JDBC14.jar also I'll extract. MySQL connector.jar also I'll extract, and I show you what code they write, just to understand how the complete programming is happening here. Okay, so let's see how they have done the implementation now. First, we have got an interface called as connection. So this is one of the interface. In this, so there are some methods. Statement. Create statement. No. Create statement on method is there. See, this is how an interface is defined. Sun is not doing the implementation. They release this. Okay. So now who is studying first? prepared. First vendors will study and then they will implement. Prepare statement. Then callable statement. Like that, many methods are there. I'm just writing few of them. Prepare call. You have seen connection, no? In connection, how many methods are there? Get connection, con.create statement, con.get database metadata. So many methods you have seen. Understood? So I'm just listing few. So one of the method name is create statement, prepare statement, prepare call. Return type of these methods is what? Return type, statement, prepare statement, callable statement. Like that, more are there. Just I'm writing few interfaces for you. So for this program to understand, refer to the example which I had given you, returning an interface. In core Java I had taught you one concept, returning an interface. That is the reason I had given you that example in core Java. And I told you it is very, very important concept in the future days of programming. So refer to that. Very clearly you'll understand that. So interface connection. Next, interface statement I will take. In statement, what are the different methods? st.execute. Return type of execute is Boolean. Then you got execute update. Then you got execute batch. Leave that. I'll go with execute query. Many methods are there. We are just seeing few methods. Return type of this is result set. First see all these interfaces. Then you got interface, result set, and next is there. Then get string, get int means the parameters are there. Just I am writing in a very simple manner. Boolean, get string is string, get int is int. Then you got int result set metadata. Like that, many are there. Okay. Leave. I'll just take 3 interfaces. So now what will the see? This is how Sun has given many interfaces. In which package? Java.SQL package. They have got all this and they have stored it in the SQL package. And they'll release a document now. They'll write all these interfaces and we are studying the document now. Same document will be studied by whom now? DB vendors. Understood? So they'll see, okay, this method should do this method should do this. So exactly what is Sun doing now? They are setting standard for DB vendors now. Next, what will happen? So Sun, assume that I'll go with Oracle. Because we are working with Oracle, I'll go with Oracle. So what will Oracle people do? See this is what they'll do. Class Oracle connection means they can have their own name. Okay, implements what? See what class name they give, why are we bothered? But it will be implementing what? Connection. They can give any class name. But Oracle is using the name called as Oracle connection. They'll give one prefix. Oracle connection implements connection. So that it will be clear. This class is implementing connection. That's it. So then they'll implement. We'll see how they write the logic. But return type of create statement should be what now? Statement. They have to implement now. Then they have to implement this also. Then they have to implement callable statement also. Prepare call method like this they'll implement. I'll write the logic in a second. So next, this is one thing. Then you have got one more class Oracle statement implements what? Statement. So what logic they'll write here? Execute is there. You have to write the logic. Return type of this would be Boolean. Then one more next method, execute, update, is they have to pass string SQL for which one? Execute query. Return type would be okay, result set like this. So then you got class Oracle result set implements result set. Okay, so I have to write the logic for this one. Is get string, column number, understood? Anything like that then? Just I have taken 3 interfaces, like that they'll implement everything now. So let's come to this point now. Yes, look at this. Let's come to this implementation. We start one by one. Return type of next is what? Boolean. So they'll be having one Boolean variable here. Boolean B is equal to false. Then they'll write some logic. If B is equal to true, return B. Like this I'll write some logic. Usually B will be false. If that operation happens, whatever, means if there's a row next, then what will they do? They'll return true. Else they'll return what? False. Some logic like that they write. Approximately I'm giving you. You can't go on writing the full code. But if you want that full code also, I'll show you what they are written. Understood? Now get string. So they'll be having one string S here is equal to null. This is how they write logics. Then what they'll do? They'll use this. S is equal to, somehow they'll fetch the value. Okay, and they'll return yes. Means provided based on the index what you are giving, from the result set the value will be picked and given to you. So here also int A will be there. A is equal to some value they'll initialize, and then finally they'll return A. So like this they'll be doing. This is okay. You know how to return what? Primitives. That is okay for you. Still come here now. Boolean. Now come see how they write the logic here. Return type of execute is what? You have to send string. What? SQL. So if, so they write logics like this. Boolean B is equal to false. If SQL query is correct, B is equal to true, means whatever, if it returns value after execution of the SQL query, if there is a value, what they'll do? Return. Like this they'll write logics, man. B is equal to true, means if there is a value, some logic they'll write. You don't worry about that, what logic they write and all. Finally you'll say what? Return B. The next method is there. Which one? Execute update string SQL, same way int I is equal to 0 if something I is equal to the number of rows, they'll count it, how many rows get affected, return I. That is okay. See, all this is okay now, because till now as you returning what was the return type everywhere? Primitives. Now we'll come to the main thing. Result set. Okay, what is that? Execute query. This is a very interesting method now. String SQL. So yes, how will you write the logic here? How will you return an interface now? How do you return an interface? I taught you. So here what you'll be doing is, you'll say return new Oracle result set. Because you cannot return an interface, sir. You have to create an object of the class which is implementing the interface. Understood? So now this is how they do it. Same here. What they'll do? Create statement, return new Oracle statement. Same way what they'll do here, return new Oracle, one more class will be there, not return it, prepared statement. So they'll go on returning objects. So here also what they'll do, you know how to return an interface now? Same concept, return new Oracle callable statement. So these are the classes, built-in classes given to you by Oracle people. So when you call that method, that object will be created and the reference of that object will be returned to you. And that reference, what we'll do, we'll hold it in our variables. I'll explain that with code again. See, this is how they do the implementation. Are you clear this? So literally we start working with what now? DB vendors code, database vendors code. This is it. Now what is there in class driver manager? If you go and see there in the SQL package, this is a class. This is a class. Now who will do this implementation? If it is a class, it has to be concrete. Some people are writing it for you. This is not an interface. So some are classes, some are interfaces. Which are classes? Sun will do the implementation. Which are interfaces? Vendors will do the implementation. So in this, the method which we are using is get connection. It is public. I need space actually. By default it is what? Public static. So it is a public static method. Public static method, return type is what? Get connection. Sorry, return type of this would be connection. Get connection is the method. You will pass the arguments URL, UID, PWD. So what will this method do now? This is a very interesting thing. Understood? First you load the driver now. So what does the driver contain now? It contains the complete low level code to interact with the database. So we don't write any code now. If I want to interact with database, if I want to connect now, we are not going to write any code. Just I load that class. As soon as you load the class, what is the advantage now? In that class, there is some static block. What will that static block do? It will execute. But what is the DB vendor doing in that static block? He is writing that code to connect to database. We don't do anything now. Hardly we load it. But to connect to database, some vital values are required. Where is the database? The instance name, the schema name, the username, the password, the port number. Depending on one database. Some database needs some value, some other database needs some other value. But whatever values are needed for getting the database connection, those values you have to pass here now. So what will this get connection method do now? So they'll be writing if, some logic they'll write. Check the driver class. Means check whether the driver class is there or not. Otherwise class not found exception now. So check the driver class. Then checks the URL, UID, PWD. All values it will check. Then use the loaded driver. These are the steps what it will do. 1, 2, 3. Use the loaded driver and the URL, UID, PWD. It will use that. First it will check whether you are given the correct values. Then it will use that and it will use creates the connection object of the corresponding database and returns the reference of the object. So if I say class.forName, driver manager.get means class.forName, oracle.jdbc.whatever, oracle driver, I load that. See, this is the code we'll be writing. Class demo PSVM. Look at these two lines. Class dot for name. So I'll just write it in short. It is oracle driver. Okay, means you have to write the fully qualified class name. Oracle.jdbc.oracle, whatever it is, write it fully. Because I'm not having space, I'm writing it in short here. So when you load the oracle driver, it has got all the low level code to connect to database, but it needs some values. What are the values? URL, UID, PWD values. So that is what you give in the next line. Driver manager dot get connection. What will you give? That URL. Understood? JDBC colon oracle colon thin @ localhost 1521 xc, or if it is MySQL you'll give that like that. Understood? Then you'll give user ID, then you'll give password. Means this is schema name, this is schema password. Return type of this would be what? Connection con. So yes, this is your variable. This is our main variable now. So this variable is referring to whose object now? Oracle vendor's object. Brilliant now. Abstraction, how we have got the connection you don't know, but you are working now. Understood? Now next I'll call con.create statement. What will happen? Connection con is equal to so and so. Statement st is equal to con.create statement. Now we are working with whose object? Oracle's object. So when you call con.create statement, you are working with this object. Object of that is created and your variable is there in st is referring to whom? Their object. Brilliant. So you started working with what now? Third party's object. Unbelievable it is. How they are written code, what they are written, why should we bother now? We are getting our output now. So this is what you mean by abstraction. You don't know how the code abstraction actually means. You don't know how you get the output, but you get the output. It's unclear. The real meaning of abstraction means what? Unclear. You don't know how you'll get the output, but you'll get the output. See, Java is supporting you what? 4 things. Oops. Okay. Encapsulation, inheritance, polymorphism and abstraction. And you can see how Java is supporting abstraction. See, these 4 concepts, encapsulation, inheritance, polymorphism, abstraction, can be implemented using all the 4 data types. You can use class to implement all the 4, subclass also to implement all the 4, abstract class also to implement all the 4, as well as you can use interface to implement what? Encapsulation, abstraction, polymorphism, all that. You can do it. Means all the 4 things. Inheritance, encapsulation, polymorphism and abstraction, you can do it with the help of interface. Now to do that, here in this scenario they found if you want to do abstraction, the best data type to be used is interface. Understood? The best data type to be used for abstraction here is going to be interface. That's what we say. Interface provides you what? The highest level of abstraction. In a class what will happen now? I will only write the code, means the author, whoever is writing the class, he'll write the code and others will directly create an object of that class and use it. Like example string buffer. So these are classes given to you by whom now? Sun. It is also encapsulation only. You'll create an object, you'll call the methods and you'll get the output. That is abstraction. S1 dot equals of S2. What is that? Abstraction. You are not writing the code but you'll get the output. So class also supports you what? Abstraction. See in class what happens? String S1 is equal to new string of hello. String S2 is equal to new string of hello. S1 dot S equals of S2. Return type is boolean now. You are getting the answer. You are comparing what now? 2 strings and you are getting the answer whether it is true or false. But did we write the code? No. But how it happened? Sun is implementing the logic there. They are giving you that class. That is also abstraction. But to implement abstraction, which data type did they choose there? Class data type. But here to implement abstraction, which data type has been chosen? Interface. Like that, depending on the situation and scenario, to implement abstraction, you will choose different data types. There is no standard rule that you will use class for implementing abstraction here and all that. Okay. But yes, standard rule means I have told you this one. What? Classes are used for doing concrete implementations. Abstract classes are used for doing partial implementations. Interfaces are used for open for implementation. That is what you are saying. Understood? Tomorrow you want to change the database, change the driver class, change the URL, UID, PWD. What will happen now? Same API is working with what now? MySQL. So now you will get the, see it will use same process will happen. Now this time it will be connected to what now? MySQL. What more do you need? One standard API to work with any database. Anyway, this looks quite huge, but imagine the relaxation the developer is getting here. Understood? So here see, fact is all this code and all nobody will ask you to write in an interview. Okay, very rarely it will be asked. But one thing is definitely asked in the interview. Why are they using interfaces in JDBC and who is implementing that interface? This might be your question. Okay, why are they using interfaces and who is implementing the interfaces? This might be your question definitely in the interview. So interfaces here are used for what purpose? The same points what I gave you now. Used for setting standards. It is a specification set by Sun for the DB vendors. These points you have to tell now. It provides highest level of abstraction. Okay, means the developer can work with vendors code and it supports dynamic polymorphism. These points you have to tell now. This is what is JDBC. Generally people think JDBC means what? 2 lines. Understood? So that is not the way you have to learn. Actually JDBC has to be learnt in this particular full-fledged way. Because if you learn one technology like this, the next other technologies will become what? More and more easy for you. Generally people, there's so good solutions in Java, it's unbelievable. people by heart things here because they don't understand the underlying concepts. So these are all underlying concepts which many developers do not know. They might be working from real time. They'll have 1 year, 2 years of experience. Unfortunately, they'll be not knowing this concepts. So that's what I'm opening up to you. Just open up your brains. I know you're Buddha. Only enlightenment is required. Yes, sir? So any questions you're getting here now? Is this clear concepts? So I'll show you their code also. I'll extract their zip files. And I'll show you the code. We cannot understand. That I'll tell you. Because abstraction. So imagine if they had not given you that code you have to write. If not, they are not given those classes to you, that code you have to write now. Which is better? Simply working on abstraction is better, or writing code, all that code is better? Simply learning this is better now. What we are learning in Java now? Calling method. Call this method, that will happen. Call this method, that will happen. Call this method, that will happen. Now that can be learned by anybody. Understood? So that is the simplicity. So this kind of easiness cannot be provided by what? Other languages. They don't have the data types, rich data types to support this kind of programming. I used to tell you, always a language, the first when I was teaching you core Java, I asked you, on what grounds do you say a language is powerful? He had given you many points. But the main thing which proves that a language is very powerful is its data types. Only a data type can make the language very powerful, and Java is very rich in data types. Hardly it has got what? Primitives and 6 user defined types actually, but extensively powerful data types, and that is why it is dominating in the market. They set standards for vendors. Means imagine they have to listen to data. Which one now? Sun people. In programming world I am talking. In the programming world, Sun is, or now it has been taken over by Oracle. Okay, so that is why Oracle becomes the most powerful company now in the programming world, because they have the powerful language as well as what? Rich database. So you have to choose vendors. Before you get into software industry, I always keep telling you, there are many solutions. For the same problem you'll be getting what? Solutions from many vendors. IBM will give you one language, IBM will give you their database, Oracle is doing it, Microsoft does it. So you have to choose one vendor and enter the IT industry, because that is your career. Understood? Generally people think, okay, if you are in IT industry, I am settled. But you are not chosen anything there. That is not the way you settle down in an IT industry. You have to be following one vendor. Okay, see, IBM is powerful in machines. I always keep telling that. Hardware machines, and that segment they are good. But their programming language is not that quite successful. COBOL. Understood? Similarly, Microsoft is there. But their problem of Microsoft is for one type of application, they'll give one language. What? For developing standalone, they'll give VB. For client server, they'll give C, which one? C#. One more language they got, VC++. So means for one type of programming, they'll give one language. How will developers learn now? Here in Java, we don't learn so many languages. Language is very simple and small here. Hardly we learn what? 40-50 classes of mine cover what? Full Java concepts. Over. Language is over. After that, we end up studying only library. So that is the beauty of Java. Okay. So since these are terrific subjects, okay, so concept will take time for you to understand, but output you can get in seconds. So since you people lack concepts, we take time in learning it. Because when you are developing an application, you don't know what is the concept required. Generally you will think, I want to write logic, I want to write logic. But what logic you want to write? God knows. Understood? And I am trying to say very clearly to you people that there is no concept on earth which Java is not supporting. It is providing all the concepts. What are required for what? Development of application. Only we have to explore the library, where it is and how do you code. And there is an option now. Sometimes Sun will only prepare that library and give it to you. Get that point now very clearly. Second option is Sun sets the specification for vendors to prepare the library. Two options. One, Sun will only directly use the library, or means classes. Sun will only give it in their library. Or other option is they set the standard for the DB vendors. Clear? So remember all this. Okay. Just code wise, nothing to worry. They'll not ask you to write code in the interviews and all that. That point they'll ask why they are using interfaces and who is implementing the interface. Understood? Shall I clear all this now? So it will become more and more clear, you don't have to worry. And you concentrate on getting output. Why do you worry about all this? Because Java is only strictly talking on what? Abstraction, abstraction, abstraction. We don't care only how we get the output. See, before the start of the class, you saw this document. Same points you see now. It gives you a different meaning itself. Understood? So as the course progresses, the concepts will become more and more and more clear. Till you are biting now. See the point. It supports multiple inheritance. We are not using that now. Clear? It is now clear now. Now look. It is used for decoupling, declaration, and implementation of methods. Still more clear. Why UD as an interface used? It is used for decoupling. Sun did not want to implement now. They wanted to set the standards for others to implement. Still more clear. Read now. It always specifies what a class must do, but not how it has to be done. Now I was implementing the classes here. Now any vendor can implement his own style. Some vendors they can write it in 5 lines, some can write it in 10 lines. It is their wish. Finally it has to do what it is supposed to do. Means execute query has to return what? Result set only. Then next, it supports dynamic polymorphism. I changed the database now from Oracle to MySQL. What is that? Dynamic polymorphism. Means dynamic polymorphism is working with changing the implementation. So such brilliant way Java supports you dynamic polymorphism. Then it's a data types which can be used as an interface to work with what? Object. You're working with whose object now? Vendor's object. The whole definition, same points, you have written it in core Java. Before the class I showed you, after the explanation I showed you. See how much immense meaning it has. And the last point, but not the least, it is because of this feature, this data type gets the name called as interface. Interface to the vendor's object. If you want to work with the vendor's object, vendor's complexity, you need an interface now. Now con, variable, st, these are all what? Connection con, statement st. They are interfaces to that complexity or objects. Clear? So fine. So still, we'll do one more thing. So you can extract. I already extracted and shown you. Okay. See this. I'll extract it and show you. This is what. See, I'll go with Oracle here. This second example. You can extract it here only. Reference libraries. OJDBC14.jar. You can see now. Oracle.jdbc. Somewhere you go here. I think here in this package. See this, all the classes what I wrote. Oracle callable statement dot class. So many they are writing. Oracle connection dot class. I told you now just now. They are implementing what? All this. So, Oracle prepared statement dot class. They are the dot class files. They are implementing it. Okay. If you want to see the code, you can use on decompiler now. Dot class contains bytecode. So if you want, you can use the decompiler. I already extracted it. I think lab purpose. Yeah, say this. OJDBC had extracted Oracle.jdbc.driver. I think here somewhere it is there. Okay. So you can open it up. Open with Java. See, this is the code. See, imagine for getting the connection, these many lines of code you have tried. Can you do this? So this is, you are working with this object. You are working with Oracle connection object. Similarly, you'll work with what? Statement object, Oracle statement object. So this is how it happens when you're working with Oracle. Same way, I'll close this. Let's come to which one now? MySQL. MySQL connector, that also has been extracted here. Last time, somewhere in the previous classes I had extracted. So com.mysql. If you want to see their code, recommended is what? Don't see the code. Why do you want to see their code? How they have implemented? You are interested in what? Getting output? No. Do that. So man should never reinvent the wheel. Whatever is existing, he should use it. So see callable statement, but they are having their own class names. We can't tell. See, their name of the class is what? Connection. They can have their own class names. Class connection implements connection. Like that they'll have their own class names. Why do you worry? But it is implemented. Understood? After implementing, where they'll keep? They'll keep it in their own package. See, interface connection is kept in java.sql package. This class is kept in what? com.mysql package. Fine. To avoid conflicts, they'll do it. But this is how they go on implementing. They can have their own class names. You don't worry about that. You can find out. So if you want source code for that also, you can open it. See, we don't require that at all. As a developer, you have to only concentrate on getting output. Till now what you have done, keep doing that. For as a developer, we should know only how to use the API. I draw the triangle. Correct? Sun, vendor, and application developer. Sun sets, vendors implement, developers use. Sun sets the specification, vendors implement it, and developers will only use the specification. That's what is Java's solution to working with database. Now can you think this solution can be given by some other language to you? Just think now. Why they can't give? Because they don't have rich data types like this. Can you think of such a solution in C, C++? And you are understanding now why tomorrow a new language cannot come and dominate Java? Generally what happens in market evenings, what you do, you discuss, tomorrow a new language will come and overtake Java, that is so beautiful, this is so beautiful. That is secondary here. See, first we need a user-friendly language, and second we need what? Libraries. We are not interested to code. Third is what? It should be portable. And all rich features you should have, exception handling, all these powerful features it should have. Okay, and apart from that we expect what? Library. Now imagine, you have learned so many things. Tomorrow a new language will come with the same support. Will you learn? You'll say, why? Why should I learn it? Anyway, I can get that output in Java. And that is why millions of applications have been coded on Java. Now nobody will migrate it to other languages. It will continue now. So that is why Java has continued to dominate for 25 years. Will continue to dominate. We will die, but Java will not die. That is the scope of Java. I'm just telling you because people will discuss tomorrow morning Java will not be there. Means what, joke, huh? No, people talk like that. It is utter nonsense because they have not understood the subject. So powerful they are in the industry, like they go on setting standards for what? Big vendors. When Sun company was there, Oracle is a big company. They are implementing what? JDBC API. IBM is a big company. DB2 has to implement what? JDBC API. Otherwise we cannot use DB2. If they are not implementing, what will we say? That is not compatible with Java, will not use only. Now who is losing business? DB2 means IBM. Now Microsoft. They have their own database. They have to implement. They make even Bill Gates listen to their words. Literally he doesn't listen to anybody. But he has to implement. Else what will happen? We can't use their database. So every vendor has to implement now. So powerful they are in the market. And it is only because of their data type called as interface. This is the story of interface. Whatever I told you actually was related to interface. Understood? So just a summary of all this. And yeah, so this information very rarely you'll find in books or wherever it is. Just because of my experience of training and seeing all these things, I put it forward to you. Understood? So keep it in your mind and it will be very helpful for you in your coming years when you choose technologies. Because when you choose a technology, choosing a technology, okay, I'll choose JDBC. Now which vendor you want? You should know when to remove that jar and when to add that jar. People generally what they'll do now, they'll add all jars. That is a wrong methodology. Only what you require, only that you should add. Means which classes are required for your programming, add it. It's library, man. Jar file is library. Again, library is nothing but what? Ready-made solution. If it is a ready-made solution, it's a technology. So Sun has set the standard for all this DB vendors for implementing JDBC API. Clear? Conclusion? So let's not worry about that now. We'll continue with what? Or coding now. Understood? Coding also, see how simple it will be now. Clear? Any questions here? You should not get questions because Java works on abstraction. Java works on abstraction. Why do you get the question here? Your duty is what? Call that method, I'll get this output. Call this method, I'll get this output. Now what is the doubt here? In fact, there should be no doubt only. If I call this method, we study the API. If I send these arguments, I have to get this output. If you are not getting the correct output, means you have not sent correct argument to the method, that's all. If you send wrong argument, what will happen? Compiler will check. If still you have sent a incorrect value, if it compiles also, like example, okay, exception will be thrown, that's it. See, driver manager.getConnection says what? Pass 3 string values. You have to pass it in the form of string only. URL, UID, PWD. And depending on the database, you are passing the string values. Yes or no? Next, disconnection con. Then, okay, somewhere here also, st.execute. Here also you have to pass string only. SQL query, you have to pass. Correct, but everywhere you are passing what? String only. If I try to pass int, float, double here, who will give error? Compilation error. So Java is so beautifully designed, if you are sending wrong value, it is detected at what? Compilation time. What more benefits you need? See now, but if I say driver manager dot get connection and I'll pass something like hi, hello, how are you, means what will happen? It will compile. You cannot pass such kind of values. So obviously you have to send correct way. So that method, what they are writing, I wrote that code in class driver manager. Class driver manager, I wrote that code, get connection. So it will check whether all the values are correct. Okay, it will check all the values are correct or not. Checks. If correct, it will do everything. Else what it will do? Throw a new exception. Because see, an error is occurring here. They do not want to handle it. What they do? They give it back to you. That's exception handling now. So what they do? They write here. Throws what? SQL exception. So what? So the caller, it is not problem with their code. It is a problem with the caller's code. So if the problem occurs, the problem will be given back to the caller. And they say what? You call the method with proper values. That is your problem. So that's what means exception. When an exception occurs in a method, what is the rule? Either you can handle it inside the same method or you can give it to the caller method. So everywhere here in the library, what they are trying to do, they will not handle it. Because how will they see here? How can they handle it? Because to fix the problem, you have to re-execute the logic with proper values. Now how will they catch here and fix it? All that will not be possible. So that's why what they do, this is exception handling. You go and check into that. Okay. So what they do? They throw it back to you. Okay, so we have to call it now. Means, and since it's a checked exception, we catch it. We are forced to do it, and then we fix the problem by sending proper arguments. What simplicity, man! What simplicity in programming! Unbelievable. So almost all they have made programming into English. They have made programming into English. If you look at that code, it's like you are reading a book. Class start, phoneme, driver manager. So means developers long back, when 1950, 1960 and all, when binary coding was happening, 1010, they're scared of development and they thought, why not one English language is there? Okay, where I'll simply call on method, means call on logic, and I should get the output. This was their dream. The class means whatever, the method name should be very simple. If I call that method, I should get the output. Same solution Java is giving. They're telling, this is the method. Understood? You call this, you'll get the output. It's almost all in English. So that's why we give proper names. We don't give names like M1, M2, M3. If you give M1, M2, M3, what will happen? Tomorrow you'll only have to struggle. What logic is there in M1? What logic is there in M2? So we give good names to methods so that let them be 1 kilometer bigger. You're seeing now. Get connection, create statement, prepare statement. Let them be any bigger. But tomorrow it will be helpful for the developer. That's why class names, method names, we follow standards. Okay, these are international standards. Okay, camel casing, giving good names, these are all international standards. Done? So preferably, means as we go on coding ahead, you will also understand, we never give method names like M1, M2. Initially we start off like that, but later on we come to this style. Are you clear now? Same here also. If I say execute, if I pass some string, wrong string, it is not string SQL, what will happen? Exception. So that is your problem. So getting it now? So that's it. So Java's coding is all about sending proper arguments to proper methods and accepting the return type. In core Java, consistently, I only taught you to send arguments and accept return type. That is the reason Java was taught to you in that particular way. Clear? Perfectly I taught you. From what? I told you when I was teaching you core Java. 3D view I told you. One from core Java point of view, one from technology point of view, one from industry point of view. So many things. That's what I covered in core Java 5. Fine. This is clear now? So you concentrate on what now? Sending proper arguments. programming now. So this is one of your, that's over now, leave it. Why interface, who is implementing, all that, leave it. So now we'll come to one important subject now, okay, which is a very famous interview question, but practically very rarely used. Okay, so interview question would be read from the file and dump the values into database. This is one definite interview question. Understood? Fine. So I'll be explaining that program now. Very simple it is. We have got support for all this in what? Again in library. There are logics written in methods in classes. Same story will continue now. Fine, we'll see that. But before proceeding ahead, let me introduce you one dbutil class. See, generally what happens when you're coding projects now or code, it so happens that you will need the connection in your projects, database connection. But that database connection will be required in many places, not one place. When you're coding project now, you'll be having many modules, many methods. So in all the methods, in all the modules, you will need what? Database connection. So every time can you go on writing class.forename, class.forename? And by chance if you write everywhere, the problem, see supposingly there is one method, class employee. I'm just writing an example for you. Save employee is one method. Like this you'll write code in projects. So you need the database connection in this method of employee class. Similarly I'll have class department. Save department. So here also what I need? Save department. I need database connection. So can I go on writing class.forename everywhere? I can write, assume that. But you are redundantly writing the same code again and again. That is one problem. Second thing, tomorrow if you change the username, password, you have to change it everywhere now. So maintenance will increase. So that's why we'll write that code in one place and use it everywhere. Let's see how you do it. We will write one util class. Let's see how to write that util class. Very simple it is. So let's see now how you write. Are you clear with the problem now? So it will be written like this. Class dbutil means this is my class. Understood? Means developer class. Connection is the return type. Return type. Get connection. So we write one second. I'll make it as static. Reason is I don't have to create the object every time. Okay, and I'll make it as public so that it can be used in any package. Because in your coding projects now many packages will be there. You'll need the database connection in many places. So public static connection, get connection. Yes, this is a method. So the return type of this method should be what now? Connection con is equal to null. Fine. See this. Class dot for name. Load your driver. Then driver manager, see con, initialize con now. Con is equal to driver manager dot get connection URL UID PWD. Fine. All those values and say return con. That's it. Over. Understood? So now wherever, and see here, when you are writing this code, obviously exceptions will occur. So one option is I can handle it in the same method by writing try catch, or I can give it to the caller. So what I'll do, I'll give it to the caller. Always what we do, I taught you in exception handling. Always exceptions are thrown from lowest layer to highest layer. So that's why I'll write what? Throws class not found exception, comma, SQL exception. Finished. So if at all I want database connection now, see this, wherever I want, example, I'm writing PSVM connection con is equal to what? dbutil dot get connection. That's it. Call the method wherever you want, in whichever method. Are you following now? This is the actual style of coding in projects and companies. So we are just moving into the industry world now, how actually JDBC will be used for programming and all that. Clear? So remember, you have to write this class because the concept is very simple now. Read from file and dump it into database. Okay, but they'll see how elegantly you're writing the code. You can write the code directly and get this output, but they'll be seeing how you write, split the code, scatter the code, how you write classes, how you write packages. They'll be observing that in interview. Okay, hardly it is 4 lines of code. So do like this, and we'll put it into one package also, com.cluster.util package. So we will also write our utility package. This is utility. Understood? Supposing you are writing comparator, okay, something like that. All that will be kept in this util package. Yeah? Fine. Are you clear with this code now? That's it. So the same util class I'll be using for what now? From now on. That's it. Nothing, hardly. You'll be having 2 lines like this. So wherever you want, you can get the connection in your entire project. And tomorrow you want to change anything, change it in one place. Username, password, anything you want to change in database. Maintenance becomes easy now. Clear? Okay. Yeah, what is the program now? Read from file and dump it into database. Definite interview question. If you go to any interview as a fresher, they'll give you a system and ask you to code. Don't by heart and go. They'll not ask you to write. They know you can write very well because you are excellent in what? By hearting from LKG. Yes or no? Twinkle, twinkle, little star, like that you by heart. So actually they'll be looking into what? How you set your environment, how you write code, Eclipse. Because when you enter the company, you have to work on this kind of environment. How you add the jars. So this is what they'll be observing. Understood? So be careful. So file to database. So see this is the, in SRC I got one package, com.cluster.util. So in this package, remember from now on we'll be following standards. Every class will be written in a separate Java file. Every class will be written in separate Java file. That is the rule. In fact, when you code in college basics and all, what will you do? 5 classes you'll write it in a single Java file. That is wrong. Tomorrow your project will have so many classes. Okay, and it will be very difficult to debug later. So every class will be written in what? Separate Java file. That is why dbutil.java is here. See this? What I explained here? Same thing is there, nothing else. Done? Now how do I get the connection? Yes, com.cluster, file to database demo. I'm going with what? File to database. Same thing, but only I'm saying dbutil.get connection. More simple, no? Why do you want to write every time? Class start for name, class start for name. Understood? See, imagine project wise you think this is public static void main I can write because it's a one program. But in projects what will happen? Many places, many modules will be getting the database connection. So best is you go for what? Util class. And now I think you should get the idea why I'm using static. Why making public? Because I'll use this in other packages and without creating an object, I'll be calling this method. Understood? So that's done. So I think it's pretty simple now. File to database. Let's see the file now. Which file? There's a file called as hello.txt. We have values here. See, in the same project there's a file called as hello.txt. How many records are there now? 4 records are there. So I want to read the value from the file and dump it into what? Database. Very simple. Yes or no? From Java point of view it's very simple. Why means library. Same you try to do it in other language. Understood? If you are not having the library, imagine. Understood? So program is very simple. Very, very simple. This is hello.txt, which is having values. So these values will be read into the Java program, and from Java program we will dump it into one table. Which table? EMP table. Same or EMP table, you know that. Read from file, bring it into primary memory. From primary memory I will dump it into database. Done now? How simple it is in Java. So first what we should do, we have to create the table now. We'll create it off. So yes, see I got one more txt file here, employee.txt, which will contain your SQL queries. Very simple. Sometimes if it doesn't open up, refresh, it will open up. Okay. They were having EMP and student here. In fact, EMP is having some data here. I'll drop this table. And then I'll create it. See, I'm dropping the table. Next, I'll create it. Table has been created. And if you want, you can go and check. Employee, data, there is no data. Done. File is ready. Table is ready. What we should do now? Write program. I think you are very intelligent enough to do this. I'm using scanner. Library man, now you don't say, not following. I have covered all what? Scanner class, everything I have covered for you. New scanner is equal to new file of, and I am mentioning the file name. I'll get the connection. I'll get the values from what? File into primary memory. How? Using scanner. So one by one, what will I do? I can add it into a batch. There are 4 rows. Why do you want to send one by one? So what will I do? I can put all the values here. How am I putting the values? First iteration, first row. See, when this is happening, C dot has next. You'll go to the scanner. You are using scanner now. It will read it from here. File. Okay. So, and you are getting it into variables. These variables, I'll put it into the query ID, and I'll put it in the batch. Again, it will iterate. Like that, all the values in your file will be read. Understood? All the values will be read. After it is done, so now see, outside the while loop, be careful. Otherwise, every time it will go on executing the batch. I'm saying what? Execute batch. Finished. Over. How many lines of code are there? Imagine, man, reading file and dumping to database is hardly how many lines of code in Java. It is a big story for you. But in Java, it is a simple story. That simple it is. Clear? So, do this. Rest all will continue. Getting the code, public static void main, declare the variables, mention the create the scanner object, get the connection. Now start reading values. What is your first thing? You have to get the values from the file into primary memory, and then you have to dump it into database. You have got the connection. That's it. So I can go with add batch, or in the while loop only I can go with what? Execute. This what will happen? Every time while iterating, it will hit the database, compilation will happen, execution will happen, response will come back 4 times. So if I want to reduce the request time and response time, I can go with batch. So this is what is performance tuning, which I taught you in JDBC. Both you will get output. Understood? But if you are going with add batch, put execute batch outside the while loop. Understood? So I will run this program and show it to you. Done, completed storing. Come here and refresh. See, 4 records from from the file have been dumped into. That's amazing, man. How working, why working, abstraction. You understand what is abstraction now? Java actually teaches you abstraction a better way. You can learn abstraction in Java better than what? C++. If you go to learn abstraction in C++, you will never understand. In Java, very clearly you will understand what is abstraction. Generally people think what? Before doing Java, let me learn encapsulation, inheritance, polymorphism and abstraction in C++. There you will not understand anything. In Java, more clearly you will understand what is abstraction, because we start using the library. Now you will get the output. That is what is abstraction. Done? Okay. See, this is one way to get the output. Other way, I can use execute method also. See, this will also give the same output, but comment add batch, and so every looping it will be inserting. So you are simply unnecessarily wasting water. Request time and response time. See, only 4 records are there. Now the same values I'll insert. This time you'll have both are correct. Correct? Now Ulta will do what? Database to file. You should know how to do now. Library support. Everything library, man. So we already got the values there. File to database. Same values, 8 rows are there. That I'll read and display into what? Or dump it into what? File. So see, file, database to file, the 13th project now. Database to, previous one was 12th one, now it is 13th. So database to file. You should be able to, these are all assignments I should give to you after completing JDBC. Full time training you all this, sir. These are assignments I should give you. Yes or no? Because after so much of course, what? You should have the tendency of writing such kind of code now. Clear? So continue, code, keep coding whenever an assignment is given to you, wherever. But why I am still covering is because these are most famous interview questions. And I don't want you to just make mistakes, silly mistakes and lose that interview. That's why I am covering most important one. But look into this and anything they ask you to write, you should be able to code now. Understood? Yes, now what is the next program? Database to file. We already got the values now in database. That I'll read and put it into one file. I'll delete this cluster.txt. It will be created. Understood? So let's see how you'll do it now. Same util class for getting connection. From now on util class only you'll be using. Then see this. I'm using print writer and I'll be writing to which file? Cluster.txt. I want to write everything. So what am I doing? Select star. Or if you want you can pick what you want to write. But my intention is what? Write all the records, all the rows. Okay. You know how to get. See, SOP will print what? To the Java console. Instead of SOP, what I'm doing? pw.write man. One small change. pw.printWriter, you create the object. It will be written to what? Cluster.txt. That is from database to file. Done? Fine. See, this class, today's class is very, very important. All interview concepts are getting covered here. Clear? All theory only more. So you should know how to pitch yourself in the interview. Done. So got database connection, finished writing to file. I'll refresh. See here when I refresh, that cluster.txt will be created. F5. Or you can say right click and refresh. Don't click delete. So now cluster.txt is there. See here. Database to file, file to database. What answers, man? Easy. Everything is there in library. Clear this? Okay. Done. Next. We'll see next concept. Clear? This is done. So these are your interview questions. I got from hello.txt and dumped it into database. Other program was what? Next program. From database, I got the values and wrote it to cluster.txt. Like that you can write. Understood? Okay. So some more things we'll cover today. This is also very, very important. Very important, very important. We'll see how to save date and time into database. Till now you have stored what? Int, varchar. Yes. Now we'll see how to store date. Clear? So yes. The three programs, very important program this is. Okay. So you should be good in database for this. You should be good in database for this. In database there is one column called as date in Oracle. You know that now? See, till now we are having our employee ID. Name, salary we are using. But what is the data type of employee ID? Number. What is name? Varchar. What is salary? Number. This data types you know. There is one more data type. See, in all languages you have got data types. In Java, how many data types are there? Int, float, double. So many data types are there. Similarly, in SQL also so many data types are there. Okay, we have seen two, number and varchar. One more data type is there called as date. And that will be generally used for your date of birth or your login time. So this is one data type now. So now see, when you are sending values from, this is very crucial now. Okay, Java environment to database environment, your data type should be compatible. Okay, supposingly I am having int id. Now this can be stored only in number. So your Java int is compatible with Oracle's number data type. Only if they are compatible, then only you can insert. try to store string in int, it will not be possible. Understood? So, and who is doing all these conversions? Driver class. Vendor is already doing that logic for you. So, you're sending values from Java to database, all that, because as I told you in the last class, end of the day, value 5, example I am telling, or value Ravi. These are values. In one language, they'll be stored in one way. In C, I store it. Int a is equal to 5, but it is stored in 2 bytes. But the same 5 in Java is stored in 4 bytes. Understood? So now in Java, string will be represented in a different style. Okay, but in some other language, it will be stored in a different style. Same in SQL, they have their own methodology. Understood? So now, here what is compatible? Int is compatible with number. String is compatible with varchar. Okay, from Java. Now, if you want to store there now, SQL date, for coming to date concept now, your date should be of type what? SQL.date. Java dot, you got 2 types of date. One is util date, SQL date. So when you are storing in database, your date should be of type what? SQL date. Or you can also store timestamp. You know this hierarchy now? Java dot util dot date is the super class. It is having 2 subclasses, Java dot SQL dot date, Java dot SQL dot timestamp. And what is util date used for? Used for displaying, because you'll format and display it in whatever style you want. You have covered date and time. Okay, all these classes are covered in what? Core Java util classes. Yes, in util classes I have covered this. So these are used for what? Both of them used for storing in database. Be clear this. So I show you how to store now and how to do it, display now. And remember, so SQL date, I'll have SQL date. I show you with code only, there you will understand clearly. So now ID compatible with number, string name compatible with what? Varchar. SQL date and timestamp is compatible with date of birth. Remember this. These two are compatible with date. So depending on your data type, you should choose your, means depending on the columns, you should have your data types. Depending on the columns, you should have your data types. Then it will be easily, that conversion will happen. SQL date will be converted to what? Oracle date. Timestamp will be converted to Oracle. That you don't worry. But you send the correct value, no. Wrong values you do, because vendor has written some logic now. If you send the correct value, you will do that conversion and store it into database. But if you are sending wrong values, how will you do it? Understood? So you take care of, you only have to take care of sending proper values. Done? Okay. Yes, now coming from the practical point of view, application point of view, see very clearly. This will be your UI. Enter name. Enter date of birth. Enter password. Those all are okay. You might have enter ID, many things. Date of birth he'll select. He'll give the value. Okay. In one country, you'll get it in one format. Means in India, we write it as DD, MM, YYY. If it is US, they'll give it as MMDDYY. Okay, anyway, this is the user interface now. So these values will enter into your application. Now this you have to dump it into database. So get the point very clear now. When the user is, either you will have today, nowadays you will have that calendar. You'll be selecting. Generally we don't type today, date of birth and all. We have that calendar now in the UI. We'll select it. So whatever it does, supposingly it selects 31/12/2008, example I am taking. Okay, so this value will come into application. But when the value comes into application, it will be of type string. It is string now. But you want to insert string in what? Date column. Problem is then string is compatible with varchar. But string is not compatible with what? Date. So you have to do the conversion. So I have taught you how to do this conversion. So while doing this, so what you do? String to util date, that you will convert to java.sql date, and then you will send it to database. String will be converted to util date, and then it will be converted to SQL date, and then you will send it to database. It will be stored. But you have to do this conversion. I have shown you how to do these conversions. Now also I will continue, but one extra mile we are moving. What is that? We will be dumping into database. So this I had covered, how to convert string util date to SQL date. If all this is over, only I will be bringing what now? UI. Be ready now. You have to be ready clearly with what? Backend. When you start coding, all these concepts will be implemented now. So I completed database separately, Java separately. We are integrating Java and database. Only UI is pending now. That will happen very shortly. Clear? So yes. Now similarly, yeah, this is how you store it. Understood? So when you retrieve it, see, this is for storing. For storing, you will be taking this approach. For storing, what you will do? String.util.date to SQL date, and means first you will get it as string. Whenever you get any value into your program, you will be getting it as string, and that you have to convert it into util. Now how do you convert now? Just I'll hard code and ask you now. You tell me. String yes is equal to 31/12/2008. So it is what? Date format. df is equal to new simple date format. Give the values. Then df dot parse. Return type of this is what? Util date. Is java dot util date. This I'll convert into what? Java dot SQL date. I show you the code. SQL date is equal to this you import. Java dot SQL date. New java dot SQL dot date. Pass the argument util date. That's it. This is related to core Java now. So I have to dump it now. Yeah, this is very important. Learn this. So this is one option. Shall we do this now? Okay. So this is one option how you do. Other option is also there. We can use which one? SQL support also. Which one is that? _date. In SQL also I got on support. Both are correct. Whichever one you want, you can use. 2_date is also there now. So I'll show you both. Yeah. Practice this because this is a very crucial thing. Most of your applications will have date as the column, and you should know how to work with the date column. So date of birth. See, I'm having two txt files here in this program. We are working with the 14th project now. Persisting date and time. Okay, persisting date and time. This is project I'm working. In this there are two files. One I show you how to store date, only date. One more I will be showing you how to store date and time. So date of birth I'll open. See this. I'm having very simple table because I don't want to make it very complicated. Drop means my table name will be what? Employee DOB. It will have only two columns, name and what? Date of birth. If you want to have ID, name, salary, all that you have. But I kept it very simple. Okay, so we'll be creating one table now. You see this. So I drop table employee. If I run, it will give me error because the table is not there. Okay, but practice always like this only, because if any table is there, gets dropped. Okay, fine. Next, table has been created. Now see, this is a SQL support. What you get? If you want, you can use what? SQL support. How? _date can be used for what? Converting string to date. This all I have covered in database. So this also you can do. This is also an option is there for you. See, insert. I can do insert like this. First learn with SQL. Then you come to Java. So this is possible. So two rows have been inserted. You can go now and check in the object browser. If you refresh, there's one table called as employee DOB data. Yes, 2 records have been inserted. Same value I have inserted. Okay, now this is done. Next, how to display now? So for displaying, what do you use in SQL? To_char. These are SQL functions. Of what? Oracle. But do not expect the same function in other database. To_char and to_date are only in Oracle. They might be having, but they might have a different name. Understood? So this is Oracle functions we are learning. So next I can display like this also. Means this is formatting. In what format you want to display? By default it will be storing in this format. In database it will be storing something like this. But when you are displaying now, it's up to you how you want to display now. Like this. Only I want to display what? Date and month. Sometimes I want to display what? YY, DD, MM. So in what format you want to display? You can do it. Done? Fine. Next, after this is done, let's come back now. We'll see how to do it in Java now. So again, what I'll do? I'll drop the table and again I'll create it, because we are going to do this time from Java program. So let's see the first one. The first program now, persisting date of birth demo 1. As it is, you know now, same thing, dbutil.get connection. What am I doing? I can use to_date. You can write your SQL query. But these values will come dynamically. Do not worry about that, but when it comes, you will understand how to do it. These values will be coming dynamically from the user interface. Done? So that's it. You write your SQL query. What is so big thing about it? Clear? Insert into, and one more thing, one more standard what we follow. We will not write the query. So these are standards what we follow. We do not write the query directly here. First we'll prepare a string like this, and that will pass it like this. One standard we follow, because tomorrow you want to manipulate your query now, you'll manipulate it here, you'll not touch this. Understood? So this is one more standard. Follow all the industry standards. String SQL query is equal to, write your query, same st.execute. I have to pass on string SQL now, I'm passing it. So that's it. So this will be your query now. Clear? The same query what you saw there, I'm writing it here. Nothing else. Done with this? Okay. So fine. I'll run the code. It will be now right now. See there are no records in employee date of birth. There is no data. Done. I'll run the program. Done. It's printing something. So let's go and check in the hardly 2 lines, man. Nothing more code is there. Okay. So then you can check in the database. This is one way how you can insert. Yes. Now the Java support we'll see. How you do it with Java. Means how to convert string to util date to SQL date and then store it. This also very simple. That is the next program. Persisting date of birth demo 2 now. Very simple. This also, see this you'll be getting it dynamically. A hard coded, only user interface is missing. I'm creating one date format. Just know what code I wrote. Fully clearly you can see now. This is the date format. I'll parse what? As soon as I parse means I'm telling it is in what format. You know what? Simple date format. Go and check about simple date format. I'm telling parse this as date, parse this as month and year. I'll get what now when I call parse method? Util date. But util date is not compatible with SQL date column of database. So what will I do? You know how to convert util date to SQL date. Finished. Once it is done, you can use prepared statement also. I am showing you prepared statement. Look, set string 1 comma Ramesh. This value will also be coming dynamically. 2 comma SQL date. But what is the method I am using? Set date. Set int, set string, set date. Simple. Unimaginable. Understood? So we have to just supply correct values from our Java environment to the database environment. Only then it will be inserted. Done? That's it. Run the program. Same value, but there is one record now. Just see this. There is one record. I'll be inserting Ramesh this time. It is Rajesh, or you can go with. I'll be inserting Ramesh. So let's see now. Done. You can go and check. Both are correct. You can use anything. Preferably we do it with Java. From string we convert it into, because here a lot of, if you do with SQL now, there is a lot of concatenation and all you will get. Single quote, double quote. Yes or no? Here we have hard coded. But if you want to send variables there, single quote, double quote, all that headache will be there. Compared to that, which one is better? It's your wish, you can take anything. This is much better. It is more elegant also. Understood? Clear this? So this is how you save what? Date. Now we'll see how to save date and time. This also will be there. So let's talk about a practical scenario in your project, and then we'll see why we need date and time. In date of birth, time is not required, and that value will be given by what? User. He will be selecting where? In the user interface. Yes or no? See, date of birth, name, date of birth will be given from the user interface. Fine. But next, when he enters, logs into your application, generally it so happens, generally when you are developing real-time applications, you'll understand this, your values will be stored in the database, but this will be in a different computer and your database will be in a different computer. Remember that. Here right now our application and database are all in same computer. Practically, real time. Again, production environment, application will be in one computer, this will be in another computer. So even the query, by the time the query reaches the database and gets executed and stored, there will be a difference in time. Even 0.001 millisecond also will be the difference. So there in real time environment, every second counts. Okay. So that is why, see, the standard rule what we follow is, while storing time in database, we never take the database time. We always take the application where it is running now, that date and time will be taken. So this will be the machine. So we'll have to insert this date and time into database now. Now how do you get this machine's date and time in Java? System dot get millis, that is one way, or other one is java.util.date is equal to new java.util. Finished. You'll get what? System data. That util date you want to insert into what now? Database. So that util date, if you want to insert into database, either you convert it into what? SQL date or timestamp. So see, for login we need date and time. For logging time we need what? Because see, after the next time you will display it. You have to display now. Date of birth is okay, only date you will display. But you see, you will be displaying your sometime later. I am telling you, your date of birth is 31/12/2008 or something, you will display. That is okay. But you last logged in at time and date you have to display. So that time you will be taking this system date. Understood? So which system date? The place where your application is running. It's very simple. Just I'll say what? Java.util.date, I'll get the system date, that I'll convert it into SQL date or timestamp. SQL date will not have time, but timestamp will have what? Time and date. Simple. Done? So shall I clear all this now? So understood why we need date of birth, date, time. But here in database, date column only will support what? Date also, date and time also. This I covered again in database for you. So more of database you know, JDBC is simple for you. Understood? So more of database you understand first, then JDBC is simple. People think directly what? I know database. If you know database, then JDBC is easy. Yes, for this we'll take another example. Okay, where we'll be saying which one? This login time. Let's see this. See, this example is there in the same project, 14 project persisting date and time what you saw, it will be there in the same thing. So whenever you have any doubts while doing project, refer to this example, persisting date and time. This is the third example, done. But for working with this example, I'll use one more txt file, means SQL query, because I'll be using a different table here. Okay, so that query for that is there in login time dot txt. The name of the table is what now? Employee login. So, and a very simple table I'm having. Okay, and this will be what? Name, login, and what is the data type? Date. Previous one was also date only. Did you notice? In date of birth, when I stored, there also date of birth was date. Okay, fine. So let's do this now. I'll create the table first. So anyway, table error, again create it. Go and check. So if you refresh, you can see one more table is created now called as employee login, and there is no data. So let's see now how do you write this code. The third example, persisting login time demo. Third example, open up. Yeah, see here what I have done is in one file only, it means in one program only I got three methods. A persisting login time demo. There is one method called as persisting SQL date, another method called as SQL timestamp. One I am showing you how to save SQL date, other one I am showing you how to store timestamp. Other method is there, how do you retrieve data from the database, date, how do you retrieve and display it. Okay, so in one class there are three methods and main method is there. So main method, first it will call, which method it will call? I show you how to store SQL date. Just you call it, it will execute now, understood? And all these methods are static, that's why I am calling directly. These are my methods, they are not in the library, understood? See how I name the methods, not M1, M2, M3 anymore. Persisting SQL date, some good name we give. So where is this method now? It is on the top, persisting SQL date, understood? It is private, static. If it is, generally if you use it in the same class, we make it as private, understood? Static void, throws what? Class not found exception, SQL except, means, see the flow here, now you will understand exception handling. From util class, we are getting it into what? From this, this method is called where now? Here, in this method. What is this method doing? Not handling, still it is giving to what? To the caller. Who is the main caller? Main method. So like that, from util it will come to that method, from that method you will give it to, understood how you give the exception. That is exception handling, leave it. But anyway, persisting SQL data. So see this, dbutil.get connection. I will build the query. After that, I want the system date now. So how will I get it? Very simple. Java.util.create it. That date, if you want to print, it will be having what? Util data. So many things, date, time zone, everything it will have. Okay. So that util date, I will convert it into what now? SQL data. Simple. How will you do? You will pass it to the constructor of SQL date. And now, see this, you have got the query 1, comma what? Rajesh, 2, comma, that is the login time. That's simple, understood? So by login, date, time will not be there because we are using what? SQL date. Very clearly I have written. When you want to store only date and do not want to include the time, use SQL date. Then you have to use SQL date when you don't want the time. So this util date will give the system time. Done. If I want, I'll print it. You can see it. Done. So let's see now. Let's execute this code. So just all I have to do is what? Call the method. Done. So we'll run now. main will call it. Yes, so this is SOP, what we are printing here. I am printing what here? Util date and, sorry, I am printing util date and SQL date now. So this is the output what you are seeing there. Util date is like this, it will have so much of information, this much, but when it is converted to SQL date it will have only this much of information. So that we are doing what now? We are sending it to database, it will be stored now. How will you do it? Prepared statement I am using, again I am using what? Set date, look at the method. Okay, so once it is done, now see here. Done. System date, what is speaking now? This system date is 26th February 14. Done? Fine, next. That way you can do, but I want date and time now. So all I will do is what? Same, compare, you will only understand. I am using what? Timestamp. Same thing, but this time I am saying timestamp. Only change is that. Java.util.date is been converted to what? Util date, util date has been converted to timestamp. Now timestamp will contain what? Both time and date, and now I will insert the same thing, but this time I am using the method called as set timestamp. So prepared statement has got various methods, set date, set timestamp, like that. So use it. So now these are the placeholders. So let's run this program now. Persisting, I will comment that timestamp. Done. See, this is how timestamp will be there. When you convert util date to a timestamp, this is how it will be converted. This is SOP. But if you go and check in the database, you'll have date and time. But fact is, it will not display here. I have explained this to you in database. But you can retrieve it. When I retrieve it now from the database now, I'll be getting what? Date and time. I'll show you. Clear? So fine. Anyway, it is here now. It's there in the database, but it is not displaying. This is only display of database. But in the database, actually it has been stored. Fine. Next. See, retrieving date from database. Now, how do you retrieve and display it to the user? Correct? So only UI is missing. We are doing it in PSVM. Focus now. Select. Your normal select means everything same. You will get it in result set. After getting it, what will I do? Get string, you know what it will give you. If you want only date, not the time, you can store both date and time. That's your wish. You can store both. Gets time will give you what? Date and time, but this will give you what? Only date. So I will display date and time first. So I removed that comment. So see, while saving the first one, I saved SQL date. I did not save timestamp. So that's why it is taken 000. But the second one I used timestamp. But actually this is not visible in here. It is stored. So if you give SQL date, it will be taking by default as 000. Understood? And doing that. Fine. Next this one's here. If I don't want the time to be displayed, I'll just comment this, which is the method I'll call now. Get date. That's it. Even though time is there, it will not be displayed. This is a very, very important subject. Go through this. So you are displaying only date. We have covered a lot of concepts today, all interview questions only today, and your real time. So date is extensively used when you are working in real time applications. Here also we will be teaching you again in projects. Okay. So apart from that, you can see we covered many things. So what is the summary of today's class? That's it about all this. So summary, what the vendor is doing, how Sun sets the specification, all that I explained to you. Then interview point of view, I explained to you how to store from file to database and database to file. And real time point of view, how to save date and display it. Understood? So this will be very important when you develop projects. Okay. So that's it. All these three methods are there in this single file. Which file? Persisting, login time demo, and all these examples. This is a very important project, which are 14 project. It's very important. You will be referring to it. So take care and go through all this. Understood? Okay. That's it then.